All right, guys, today we're going to break down an article that is comparing Palantir to AWS. Now, I can actually speak to some of this stuff because I've worked with AWS for a many number of years, and there are some similarities. Now, let's really jump into it, okay? Is Palantir like AWS? Yes and no. Stick around, I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation as to why this may or may not be. But before I do that, actually, let me give you a quick analogy, and this is going to be kind of a funny one. But after this, we'll get a little more serious, and I'll explain to you, detailed perspective, okay? But for now, let's get a little kooky. Amazon AWS is kind of like IKEA. Okay, and the reason I say that is because when you go to marketplace or market hall or whatever it's called, you go there and you see the beautiful kitchen, you see the beautiful table, you see everything, and you're like, wow, this is actually kind of cool, like the design is beautiful, and you see the end result, right? You see all the stuff that's there, and you're like, you know what, I would love my room to look like that, or my kitchen to look like that, or my living room. That's where I want to do. That's what I want to do to my house. The problem is, the reason why Amazon's like AWS is like IKEA is because when you actually go down and you pick up the stuff that you're trying to buy because of the design that you saw or the goal that you have in your mind, you get a bunch of stuff in a box that barely fits together, and the instructions are like ridiculous. Right? It's got that IKEA guy that's sitting there with a wrench in his hand, like, what the hell am I going to do with this? So it's kind of like that. Like, whenever you go to these reInvent, from AWS or any of these conferences, Amazon representatives come to your company or whatever the case is, right? They pitch this grandiose vision where they're like, oh my God, this is all you can do. Look at this. Netflix is on Amazon, AWS, and all this other stuff. But when it really comes down to it, they sell you a dream. And when you need to have the technical staff to actually run and execute that dream, and to be honest with you, it never actually comes to full fruition. It takes some sort of weird sort of version of it in the end game, really. Okay, so it's never what you plan out to be, for sure. So think of it like IKEA. Like, these cloud providers, they project this massive dream. They're like, oh, use our platform, you can do all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you're going to end up with crazy weird instructions to do anything. So you have to hire one of those installers that you have to pay for, or whatever the case is, right? AKA consultants like me to come and fix your stuff for you. And we can only do so much, right? So think about it like that. And whereas Palantir is more so like a West Elm or some sort of like really high-end shop where you go, you see what you want, and they deliver it to you exactly the way it is into your damn room. And on top of that, Palantir encompasses your entire team in a platform, whereas AWS it's a disparate, like, mismatch kind of stuff. You need to hire different consultants from different things to help you. Use that analogy for the rest of this video, but from now on we'll get serious and we'll compare a little bit more. But I just wanted to give you that just so we can hit a baseline, okay? Firstly, it's nothing like AWS in terms of the modeling, because of course AWS is a cloud. Palantir is not really a cloud. They're more so a series of offerings and platforms and things like that. The basis, and by the way, this is a Motley Fool article. I'll leave the link in the description below. Please feel free to go and read it. It's actually a pretty good article, pretty objective, but they're coming at it from an investing angle rather than a tech angle, okay? So the point of this article was to basically based on the whole certification bit, okay? Palantir recently released certifications for internal people or people who are currently using Foundry or any other Palantir products. Now, so this is actually a good sign, because this exposes Palantir to people that normally would not have it, right? And it shows actually that they're scheduling or they're planning for this kind of growth in the future. They're not exactly sitting there and saying, okay, we have what we have, and it just is what it is. They're trying to get ahead of it by saying, okay, let's certify these people, so if they ever leave, they have this kind of background, and they have this fundamental thing to stand on. So in their new job, which potentially could have Palantir, right, because they're trying to ramp up their sales and stuff like that and marketing, they are prepared for this kind of stuff, right? And as they go into new jobs, they'll also be a proponent of it. In your resume, actually, when you apply for jobs in the tech industry, there's a section where you can actually say which certifications and stuff like that you have, right? So that's usually a quite an important thing for some jobs. It depends, especially for data jobs. They do look for certifications, and if you have them, you actually stand like a better chance of getting that job compared to somebody who doesn't have it, for instance, okay? In this way, they're similar. Yes, they both have certifications, but that's like saying a Tesla and a Chevy Volt is the same because they both have wheels. It's not the same. It's not how it works. AWS came out with a model that they very, very aggressively wanted to get it in the hands of as many people as possible, regardless of the size. So they made it specifically for like you and me to actually just go in and just grab it and use it as best as possible, okay? This isn't something like Palantir is not doing that at all by any means. They're trying to keep their cards as close to their chest as possible, as we currently stand right now. In that exact way, the model is totally different. Their ramping model is totally different. Palantir is trying to address completely from the business side of it and completely from B2B. They don't really want to consider releasing some sort of like light version that could be potentially just something that you can get a trial copy for instance, right? They're completely going from the business angle, whereas Amazon is completely going from the consumer angle, right? Or not consumer, but people who are sort of cloud friendly or tech friendly. Let me give you another similarity before we go to another difference, okay? Another similarity as to why it could be compared to Amazon, for example, AWS, is that when AWS released their certifications, it was around their 7-year mark. It came out around like 2006, and then they started releasing certifications around 2013. Palantir, same thing. Foundry was released around 2015 or something, and now it's 2022, and they're releasing certifications. So it hits that same 7-year mark, and in that way, they're similar. But again, we're talking like semantics here. It's not exactly the same sort of way to look at it. At the time that AWS released their certifications in 2013, they were just starting to ramp up their UI. So they had a lot of tech already, right? But they were just starting to ramp up their user interface where, you can actually go into the platform itself and pick. You don't have to have command line experience, for instance. You didn't have to be able to code or anything. You can go and pick from their website, literally, as to what you want and create an account and all these other things. I think that's when they started releasing auto-scaling groups and stuff like that for EC2s, which is basically one of the things that really, really, really kicked them off. That feature was amazing, by the way, at that time. So, now everyone has it, all the cloud providers. Okay, so Palantir really, really does not have that. So you can treat it more of as like a awareness campaign of them just trying to get the name out a little bit more. Another key difference is that at this point, and I'm strictly comparing AWS, not now, but when they actually started releasing their certifications, okay? So at the time they released certifications, they had quite a few offerings that were, sort of multitudes of stuff already, right? This is what I was alluding to earlier with the whole IKEA expression, right? But basically, they had like a bunch of different offerings, and it was really just a strew of different stuff, which people weren't used to at the time. Now they have way more than that, right? But at that time, people were like, "Wow, there's way too much here. What is happening?" Whereas Palantir is focused on more of that single, 1, 2, 3 type of platform situation where they have only a few offerings. Really, is what I'm trying to say. And this is more akin to a company that's trying to just build their product and build their sort of customer base as much as they can. The reason for this is actually Palantir, their product set is all-inclusive for the most part. Products that Palantir push out, they actually have multiple smaller products of potentially something like AWS within that one massive product, okay? Very important to know that, because their certifications, even if you get like one certification for Foundry, for instance, it can equate to about maybe 3-4 different, modules from AWS, for instance. AWS certifications are pretty comprehensive as well. They do touch on a lot of different factors, and they have different grades of it for sure. But when you do a Foundry one, you're almost like you have to do all of it. The certification will encompass a lot more, which is a little bit compulsory because you only have a few types of certifications for Palantir. Whereas with AWS, you have multiple grades that you can choose from depending on your skill set and things like that. So that's where they differ. From a technical perspective, they differ greatly. They're almost not even close to being the same, to be very honest with you. So it's not a very good comparison. But just the fact that they have the certification and push it out, sure, I'll buy that. That's fine. Either way, it was a good sign for AWS at that time, and it's a fantastic sign for Palantir now. Especially, actually, I would argue that it's a better sign for Palantir only because they don't have that massive feature set, right? They need to be able to push that single platform as Foundry or Gotham or whatever the case is out to people who are willing to get certified and move to other companies and talk about the product. Because it's an all-encompassing product. And it is, in my opinion, again, it's going to be like the Rosetta Stone of data. So if that's the case, then, having that 1 or 2 certifications from Palantir would be more beneficial than having like an associate one from AWS or even an architect one from AWS. That one's a little bit pretty good still, but you know what I'm saying? It's a little more, it holds a lot more weight, I think, in the industry. I would say go ahead and read the article though, because it's pretty good. They do explain how, like, when Amazon released the stuff, their stocks sort of went up. It did a lot of things fundamentally from a finance perspective. So it's going to do similar things to Palantir, but not to the same degree, because again, the model is different. They're not trying to push it out to, me and you, for example, or if we even wanted to. They're trying to push it out to internal clients first. So would they be releasing something like a Foundry Lite? I really hope so. I would love to try it out. At that point, I'm hoping that they do increase the range of this or the reach of this certification program, because I, for one, would definitely line up to get this. I think this is definitely the future for data, and really the sky's the limit for this company from here, especially from here from a stock perspective. I mean, it's so low right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, man. I will leave you here, and you guys have an amazing weekend.